Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I want to shoot this quick video talking about differences between the VTI versus VOO and which one I like for my current situation. So these are two very popular ETFs out there. They are both managed by Vanguard. They both have a very small expense ratio. It looks like they're actually identical. I wasn't aware of that before, but 0.03. Very cheap, and definitely one of the cheapest out there. I think they've changed the game as far as expense ratio goes among all of the ETFs in the space. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it. So just comparing the two, VOO is Vanguard's S&P 500 index fund ETF, and VTI is Vanguard's total stock market ETF. So just pretty obvious there. VOO is only targeting large cap stocks that are in the S&P 500, whereas VTI is covering all types of stocks: large cap, mid cap, and small cap. As far as the dividend yield, they are very similar. As you can see, VOO is 1.57. VTI is 1.53. So let's go a little bit down. Let's look at the performance. Typically, the performance for these two funds are pretty similar. Year to date, it looks like VTI is performing a little bit better. I don't know if you guys can see that there. I'll zoom in a little bit. Might be too much. Yeah, too much. Okay. So yeah, VTI is 9.84, VOO is 8.99, but pretty similar there. 2022 VTI was down negative 19.51, whereas VOO was not down as bad. They finished negative 18.19. 2021 VOO did 28.78. And VTI did 25.67. So they're pretty similar. As far as the performance goes, I'm not going to see, does it show like the 10-year? Okay, so this website's Morningstar. They don't actually show like 5-year, 10-year, 15-year. That might be on another category. Yeah, let's go up to performance, see if we can see what they've done over 5, 10, 15. Yeah, here we go. This is what I'm looking for. Okay, so over the 15-year, so VOO obviously hasn't been, when was their inception date? Maybe that's in their portfolio. No. Well, VOO isn't as old as VTI. That's kind of what I was getting at there. Earliest available September 7th, 2010. Okay, so there it is. So it didn't experience that 2008 crash. So do keep that in mind. Whereas VTI was established in 2001. So, but looking at the 15 year, so you can't look at a 15 year for VOO. Let's look at the 10-year mark. VTI is 12.42, VOO is 12.81. Under total return of the price, total return NAV, 12.42, 12.81, same there. So their category, they're beating their category. The index is 12.66, so it's pretty close to there. So yeah, as far as the performance, it's very similar. 12.8 versus 12.42. So 5 years, 10.11, 10.55 for VOO, 3 year, 10.76. So it looks like VOO has been doing a little bit better, performance wise. But the next 20 or 30 years, it's hard to predict if that's going to remain the case. So let's look at the fund analysis for both of these. Not sure if Morningstar is going to give that away for free. Probably not. Okay, let's look at the portfolio. portfolio. So they're both, pretty much all U.S. based. There's a little bit of non-U.S. equity here, but for the most part, they both are 99% or 98% U.S. based. VTI, you're going to get exposure to, the mid and the small cap, whereas VOO, it's majority large cap. There are some mid cap stocks in here, but a little bit more diversification with VTI. Let's look at the categories, the sectors. I imagine these are going to be pretty similar. 2.65, 2.46, 957. Technology is 23.04, whereas VTI is 22.48. Yep. So this is the big difference here. VTI has 3,987 holdings, whereas VOO is only 506. Assets in the top 10% are 24%. Assets in the top 10 holdings are 20%. The turnover is 4.00%, whereas VOO is not as much. Top holdings are Apple, Microsoft. So a little bit higher weighted to Apple, but pretty similar as far as those three top holdings. Looks like Google is actually ahead of Berkshire Hathaway and VTI versus the VOO. Let's go to the risk. See if Morningstar gives us any data there. So our beta is 1.03 versus 1.00. R squared, I'm not sure what that is. The Sharpe ratio's a little bit higher in VOO, a little bit less in VTI. Standard deviation is lower in VOO versus VTI. Upside 100, downside 102, 100, 100, 97, 98. Okay. Sustainability. So for me, in my personal perspective on, comparing these two, they're both very similar. For my personal experience, I have a long time horizon. So I like VTI over VOO just because, as we saw on the risk, according to the beta, it is a little bit riskier. I mean, it's very similar, but VTI, in my opinion, I think is a little bit riskier because you have that small and mid cap exposure, whereas VOO is only large cap. So, the chances of large cap companies going bankrupt are less likely compared to small cap, mid cap companies. In my opinion, just because they're, more sound, they're blue chip companies. They've been around for hundreds of years, versus small cap, mid cap can be, startup companies, brand new companies. So the chances of success are harder for the smaller and mid cap companies, in my opinion there. So I could be completely wrong. Let me know if I am. That's just my 2 cents. So for me personally, like my Roth IRA, since I can't touch it for 30 or 40 years, I'm putting a lot of my money in VTI or the equivalent of VTSAX. That's just the mutual fund of this ETF. Same exact thing, just different type of vehicle. And then for like my brokerage account, I'm investing a lot into SPY, VOO, in my account that is like my taxable brokerage account. I like, allocating money towards SPY or VOO just because, short term, you're going to have less risk. And, my taxable brokerage account, I'm going to tap into it sooner than, my Roth IRA. So But, I think either one of them are very good ETFs. Obviously, do your own research. There's tons of other brokers out there, Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab, tons of other ones, Spider. So there's all equivalent ones. A lot of them are very similar, but this is just buying the total stock market US. You can also blend this with like an international ETF if you want that as well. I don't really allocate a lot towards international specifically, just because some of the biggest companies are worldwide anyways. So I feel like I'm getting some exposure to international just by investing in some of those larger cap stocks. But yeah, I think either one of these are really good. I like for my long-term portfolios to focus on VTI, and my shorter-term portfolios will be VOO or another S&P 500 equivalent, like I talked about, SPY. I also like QQQ. That's another one. So short-term, I like the larger cap, just the S&P 500. Long-term, I want full exposure to small, mid-cap, large cap, just because I have 30 plus years. So a lot can happen over those 30 years. A lot of innovation, a lot of tech companies that are small now could be big in 30 years. And who knows if Pepsi or Coca-Cola are going to be around in 30 or 40 years. More than likely they will be, but large cap companies like that have already been here for 200 years or however long can easily get disrupted with newer technology, newer companies. So that is my 2 cents on that. Let me know what you think down below. Are you a VTI guy or a VTI girl? Guy or girl? Didn't want to be sexist there, So VTI or VOO, let me know down below which one you are and which, why you like one or the other. This is just my 2 cents on it. I like both of them, but VTI for my Roth IRA, longer term portfolios, and VOO for my shorter term portfolios. So that's it for the video. Appreciate it for watching. If you're still here, please like and subscribe down below.